Australian Journalist Cheng Lei was host on Chinese state television, business news mainly. I say was because she was last year arrested and accused of being a spy, has been in jail ever since. The charge seems absurd. She's been framed. Her real crime seems to be that she criticised Chinese officials on social media for not dealing properly with the coronavirus. Now, for her outspokenness, you can blame perhaps the values that Australia taught Cheng Lei, values that she explained on the ABC.
Currently, I'm the anchor for the Global Business Show on CGTN, the China Global Television Network. I studied commerce at the University of Queensland in sunny Brisbane. Australian education and Australian cultures and values are all enmeshed together, and that means a lot of respect for freedom. The beauty of an Australian education is not about what is taught, but more about what it doesn't teach. It doesn't teach you to just follow orders. It allows you that freedom to think for yourself, to question even textbooks, even professors, and to judge for yourself.
I suspect China's also now using Cheng Lei as a hostage to force Australia to kowtow. Now, I thought her arrest was shocking enough. Worse, it seems, is her treatment, judging by a grim report today by Bill Birtles, one of the ABC's China correspondents who was chased out of China last year. Joining me earlier, a short while ago, was a friend of Cheng Lei, Rowan Callick, a foreign correspondent in Hong Kong and Beijing for a decade. Rowan Callick, thank you so much for joining me. First, tell us about Cheng Lei. What kind of person did you find her to be?
She is a bubbly, convivial person, a very professional journalist, excellent TV presenter, also great live. So she is better known than almost any Australian living in China because she's hosted Australia-China balls and business presentations and all sorts of occasions because she's completely fluent in both languages, having come to Australia when she was 9 years old and loving Australia and understanding China pretty well too. She's someone who's, in my experience, not particularly interested in politics or those kind of things, but very understanding about business. That was her focus, covering business events, and she knew a lot of people in the business world. And so very shocking 8 months ago to hear of her arrest, particularly very hard to understand. And she may not understand exactly why. I can only think it's to punish Australia. This is a very strange idea that you take an individual, you single them out for terrible punishment, and you hope that the country somehow responds appropriately in order to retrieve her. This is a very hard thing to understand, and I think it underlines that while it's called the Chinese Communist Party, it's not really Chinese, because those of us, and you've lived there too in the Chinese world, know that Chinese people are civil and friendly and welcoming. This is not a Chinese thing to do.
Well, it is unfortunately a communist thing to do. There's a bit of a history to this sort of stuff, or a totalitarian thing to do. What have we now learned about how China is treating her? I saw a quite shocking article today from Bill Birtles.
Yes, so Bill is a very competent journalist, excellent journalist, who was the ABC's correspondent in China when I was there my second term recently. And he says that for this latest visit online with a talk with our ambassador there, excellent Ambassador Graham Fletcher, she was brought into the room for this conversation, blindfolded, masked, handcuffed by 4 guards, two of whom were wearing full PPE hazmat suits. She was made to sit in a chair with a wooden restraint affixed across her lap before having her blindfold and face mask removed for the webcam interview. And the topics they could talk about, tightly controlled. She's not been allowed to speak to a lawyer, not been allowed to speak to her children aged 11 and 9 who are here in Melbourne with her mother because they came down just before the COVID events of a year ago, and they've now been stuck here, and she hasn't been able to speak to her own children.
I was particularly shocked by a line from this article, which seems to be extremely well sourced, that Cheng Lei was warned, keep your children out of the media here or else.
Yes, so indeed, this is quite common. People are told that they are required to concede full power to the party. This is their route to some form of mercy. By being placed in a place of investigation even, you are automatically, in the party's books, a guilty person. But this is a kind of framework through which the victims of such horrible systems are made to feel guilty, even if they're not. And the rest of us need to bow down to try to ameliorate their conditions.
Well, what can we do about it? I mean, we see her character being assassinated by social media posts in China that seem to be written by Chinese security. We see her threatened if her children are put in the media to try to plead for clemency. She's not allowed free access to lawyers, not allowed free access to our diplomats, treated abominably. What can we do about any of this?
I believe that to honour her, the best thing we can do is to keep her case constantly under attention. I believe those of us who are her friends or who know her, or people like yourself who might respect her and what she stands for, might talk about her constantly and remind our own government that we need to continue to make representations, even though the Chinese politicians of the day are not even answering the calls of our politicians. But we need to keep her situation constantly to the front of mind. Forgetting about her is the worst thing that can happen.
Rowan Callick, thank you so much for helping me do that tonight.
Thanks, Andrew. Sad days.